Hey everyone, so in my last YouTube video, I used the Sports GFX style in few of my undercover edits and a lot of you guys were asking how I made them. So that style is something that I've been using a lot recently in both fan edits and motion design, so I wanted to make a video breaking down how I actually approach it. So this is not going to be a strict step-by-step tutorial where you can copy exactly what I do. Instead, I'm gonna show you the key ideas behind the style, like the effects I use, the text animation, the fonts, color palettes, and simple motion graphics. So you can apply this style to your own edits, whether that's fan edits, motion design, or even logo animations. So this Sports GFX style is highly inspired by actual sports broadcasts, things like player intros, scorecards, and highlight packages. So the main focus of this style is the clarity. So there are big text, strong colors, and clean movements. So before we jump into After Effects, I just wanted to say something real quick. So you don't have to stress about copying this tutorial exactly. So these are just some tools. You can swap the effects, simplify things, or push things even further depending on the skill level. Alright, let's start with the first transition. So for the first transition, we are going to start by roto brushing our subject. So you can use the roto brush tool and separate the subject from the background. Once that's done, just duplicate the layer, and on the top layer, keep the roto brush, and on the bottom layer, remove that so it just becomes the background. Now, add a solid layer, and on the solid layer, add the wipe rings effect. So this is a sapphire effect, so you would need a sapphire plugin. You can play around with the settings, or you can just copy mine. We are going to keyframe the wipe percentage, bold, and frequency. Next, you can add roughen edges, and you can copy my settings. So it's just gonna break the clean edges. You can adjust the center of the ring so they sit nicely around your subject. Okay, now add a text layer. Here are some fonts that you can use that usually works best for this style. And for the colors, I am adding a tint to the background and changing it to blue. For the subject, I'm adding a black and white tint. And for the text, I'm using yellow so it really stands out. Recenter the text using the anchor point tool and align it properly. And for the text animation, I'm just making one on the spot. So basically, turn your text layer into 3D layer and then carry it down to the text layer and go to add and add rotation and scale. Go to add again and enable per character 3D. So you can tweak these settings or copy my settings. So basically the whole thing is you just change the value of how you want it and then you play around with the range selector. So once you're done, just duplicate the text and recolor it. I'm coloring it to white and I'm only keeping the stroke. Now I can increase the scale of it and put it in the background. You can also add a solid layer with a CC Jaws effect with these settings. These are like some of the effects that you can use for making something like that. Now you can use any transition here. You can have like a zoom out and a slide or rotation or anything you want. So for the second transition, we are starting similarly and roto brush the subject again, duplicate the layer, and then remove the roto brush from the bottom one. Once you're done, just add a tritone effect on the background layer and change the midtone to something that pulled directly from your subject so everything feels connected. Now add a text layer and start writing. It can be the same word repeated or different words, it's totally up to you. Next, create a circle using the shape tool while selecting the text layer. And under the text layer, go to path option and turn reverse path on so the text flips upside down. You can duplicate the text, change the wording if you want, even increase the height and scale. Add rotation keyframes on both text layer, but make sure they are rotated in opposite direction. This will give something like this, but there are more things that you can do. You can like duplicate the subject layer again and add fill, then change the color and add Venetial blinds and keyframe it like this. Now add a solid layer and apply wipe dots effect. It's also a sapphire effect. You will need a sapphire plugin and you can copy my settings. Now, you can also do the CC Jaws thing as well with the background and adjust the color however you like. So this part is actually about the text effect and you can make something like this, like that. So I'm just gonna tell you how I did that. So you have to add a text layer. You can go under the text layer and keyframe the source text. And using the text tool, you can change the fill and stroke per character. Like for every character, you can change it for frames. You can play around with that and that will give you that glitchy, broken text effect. And there's There's no right way to do this, so randomness actually helps here unless you're going for something very intentional. Okay, next let's do something more graphic. So you just add an image and double click the ellipse tool and to create a perfect circle. Now add another circle using the ellipse tool and change the color and add scale and rotation keyframe and scaling from 0 to final value. And duplicate the circle and change the scale and color, and you can add effects like initial points if you want. Now adjust the Z position so the circle sits behind the subject. You can add 3D nulls and parent all the circles to it and animate the null position and scale to create something like a zoom in effect. From here you can transition out however you want. Okay, the last transition is another example of how flexible this style is. So you can keep the rotor brush subject and try to background, add solid layer and change the X scale value like this. You can apply the wipe weave effect. It's also a sapphire plugin effect, and you can copy my settings. Then you can add warp and change the warp type to bold and adjust the bend. You can play around with the scale and intensity until it feels right. Here you can add text effects, checkerboards, shapes, or even player cards or highlights. So these are some core ideas behind the Sports GFX style. They are not rules, so you can just use them in your own edits. And if you wanted to see this style actually used in edits, you can check out my undercover video. The link will be in the description. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.